Welcome back to the next episode of our trip to Antarctica, where we finally set sail to the frozen continent. Just to quickly recap, so far we travelled from London to Buenos Aires and now to Ushuaia, where we would be catching the Ocean Victory ship by Albatross Expeditions to take us to Antarctica. We were super excited for obvious reasons, but also kind of nervous thanks to the Drake's Passage crossing we're about to embark on. The videos we've seen of the passage look terrifying when it's all stormy. 12 meter or 40 foot high waves will do that to you. The ships are built to be able to sail through this, but not everyone's stomach is, so our biggest worry was getting seasick. And as you might know, once you feel seasick, it's so hard to shake off. Oh, and the crossing goes on for 2 days, so the potential of 2 days of seasickness was definitely playing on our minds. But here's the thing about the crossing, it can either be really rocky or really calm, which is why it's known as the Drake Shake when it's really rocky, or Drake Lake when it's really calm. Oh, and it's not seasonal either, it could happen on any day, so there's no better month or time of the year to visit to avoid this. Trust me, I asked around about this a lot. We ended up finding something rather useful before we left though, a website called passageweather.com. This website is the prediction of the winds, wave heights, and surface pressure you can expect over the next week on the Drake's Passage. We still have no clue what to do with the surface pressure information, but the wind and wave height information, those we understood. That website definitely helped take our nervousness away. The prediction for our sailing was for the Drake Lake, and even though we knew the weather could change at the drop of a hat, it was still enough information to calm us down. So yeah, with that, let's get on board the ship, shall we? Actually, before that, I almost forgot about this part, which ended up being one of the most mentally stressful parts, testing for you know what before boarding the ship. See, if you tested positive, you wouldn't be allowed to board the ship, which is a policy that makes so much sense for everyone's health and well-being. And don't worry, if you can't go on that sailing because you test positive, you could go on other sailings at a later date so your money isn't wasted. In fact, if you end up testing positive while on the trip, and as a result, miss half of the trip, you're automatically entitled to another sailing to Antarctica on a different date. So for the test, we show up to this gymnasium where we were tested in groups of 30, and it genuinely felt like we were in Squid Games. People were getting picked out at random, and although you couldn't really hear what was being said to them after they left the groups, their subbing made it pretty clear what kind of news they'd just been told. We had to wait for around 30 minutes for the all clear, and those 30 minutes were just so stressful. You just didn't want anyone to see your name at all or call you out of the group. During those 30 minutes, you were basically doing your best to avoid making eye contact with the lady picking people out of the group. Like that would have made any difference at all. And I don't even know why we were so nervous either. We'd literally done a test that morning and tested negative, so our nerves had no business being that frayed. I think it must have been the whole auditorium thing giving off major Hunger Games or Squid Games vibes. Oh, and by the way, this is the norm for every cruise ship, not just ours or ships going to Antarctica. It's the same for every ship. You need to test before you board. Before we left, there was actually a ship that had been lax with their testing, and almost half of the passengers ended up testing positive on arrival back to Argentina, so the whole ship had to quarantine for 10 days. Anyway, so we tested negative, and with huge sighs of relief hop aboard our ship, where we were welcomed with cocktails and snacks and a light lunch to have in our rooms. And so off we set to Antarctica. The forecast, by the way, was correct, and for those 2 days of crossing the Drake's Passage, the water was relatively calm. Some people still got seasick though. Thankfully we didn't, but we'd started taking our seasickness medication, promethazine, before we even left the port. Another great seasickness medication is meclizine, but promethazine is the one that NASA apparently gives its astronauts to help them avoid seasickness or being sick, so that sounded good enough for us. We couldn't get promethazine over the counter in the UK, but luckily our ship pharmacy had it and they gave it to us for free. We actually started off with meclizine on the first day before switching to promethazine. There's no real reason why, I think it's just what we were given. Both tablets do make you very drowsy though, but I'd rather be drowsy from the medication and grab a coffee to wake me up than seasick and yet still drowsy and exhausted from seasickness. It's a no-brainer really. I don't know if you'll find this interesting, but this is apparently how seasickness tablets work. So your eyes, your body, like your feet being on the ground, and your inner ear usually tell you when your body's in motion. The first two send signals to your brain to say that you're in motion, and your inner ear corroborates that information, and your brain is like, okay, we're moving, and all is fine. Seasickness happens when your inner ear says that you're moving because you can feel it, but your eyes and your body say that you're not, which can happen if you're in an area with no windows or if you're not constantly staring out of the window on the ship. This difference in information confuses your brain and makes you feel nauseous. So the drugs work by silencing those signals from your inner ear so your brain doesn't get confused and then you don't feel nauseous. But yeah, the drugs, coupled with a relatively calm crossing, meant that for those 2 days we could just relax and enjoy sailing the Drake's Passage. The real fun starts after you're done with the Drake's Passage, but that doesn't mean that you're just sat around doing nothing, unless of course if you want to. While you're sailing, you've got wildlife outside. We had our first whale sightings on the Drake's Passage. You've got lectures, which I promise you are way more exciting than it actually sounds and really helps put into context what you're about to see. And in your downtime, you've also got so many movies on your TV in your room as well. In our downtime, we actually ended up watching a new show we just discovered on Sky before we left home. It's actually not a new show per se, it's new to us, but there are like 5 seasons of it already. It's called Gomorrah and it's Italian. It's set in Naples and it's all about the drug cartels in Naples. Like an Italian Narcos, I guess. It's kind of based off a real life and famous housing estate in Naples Naples. We originally found about this show while we were traveling in Naples and spotted the estate in the distance. Our Italian friend we were traveling with then regaled us with tales about it, like how they'd randomly found a tiger in there one day, like it was just someone's pet there, and told us about how even at one point the police was too terrified to go into this house in estate. We'd been watching this before we left the UK, and so we just downloaded it on the Sky Go app to take traveling with us, which turned out to be a brilliant plan, especially since we were planning on isolating the entire time before we boarded the ship anyway. But yes, before I finish this vlog, I figure I should probably show you around the Ocean Victory ship. So let's start this quick tour with the bedroom. Right, let me show you around the cabin to come through. You've got the cupboards here. Ignore the snacks, just picked them from the way in. Come through to the bedroom here. This is so lovely. Oh, so nice. And then just look how huge that balcony is as well. But yeah, I'll turn around so you can see all of it. It is really, really nice. Oh, the bathroom. I'll show you that too. Right, so this is the bathroom through here. It is so spacious. Got the extra big one. And let's move to the dining room. This is where you'll have all your meals. Breakfast here has a buffet. It's still table service, but you can then order other items off the menu like omelets and waffles. Lunch and dinner a la carte with lots of different and rather delicious options, so don't worry if you're vegan or vegetarian. This is the library. It's such a cute and calm space. This is the lecture theatre. This is one of the bars. There's another bar upstairs in the observation lounge, which has one of the best views on the ship, though to be honest, once you're in Antarctica, there are great views everywhere. The hot tubs and the pool at the back of the ship, and the spa is inside. This is the main viewing platform in front of the ship. There's also a shop and a couple of specialty restaurants as well as some guest lounges dotted across the ship. Then there's the mudroom downstairs, which is where you decontaminate and also catch the Zodiac boats to take you on a cruise or drop you off at land. And there you have it. Shall catch you in the next episode where we finally arrive in Antarctica.